Hey guys, today we're going to add a fuel shutoff valve to this string trimmer. When you leave a lawnmower sitting for a long time, the fuel turns into some sort of a sludge and starts to corrode the float bowl in the carburetor. So my theory is the float bowl in the carb wants to keep the bowl full of fuel all the time. If left sitting, eventually some of the fuel in the float bowl will evaporate off. This causes the float to drop, which lets more fuel in through the needle valve until the bowl fills back up again. As more fuel evaporates, this cycle happens over and over again. So my theory is that the ethanol either isn't evaporating off at the same rate as the gasoline or not evaporating at all. So after sitting for several months, and who knows how many cycles of the float bowl evaporating and refilling, you're left with a high concentration of ethanol sitting in the float bowl. This is what turns into that sludge and causes the damage. What we want to do is this: at the end of the season, turn off the supply of fuel to the carb, then we can fire the engine up, run it dry. That way there won't be any fuel left in the float bowl to go bad, and it won't be able to refill itself until we turn the fuel supply back on. So this can happen to any small engine with a gravity-fed carb. On something like a tractor, which relies on a fuel pump to pump the fuel in, that evaporate refill cycle thing won't happen and it won't be an issue. This is the valve that we'll be installing. This is a Briggs & Scrotum part. I paid $8.99 for this locally. Of course, later on, I looked on Amazon and see you can get a 10-pack of these for $8.99. Oh well. The first thing we need to do is to identify the fuel line. On some engines you might see a vent line or a primer bulb line, but we want the one that goes from the fuel tank to the carb. Next, we want to clamp off the fuel line, otherwise all the fuel in the tank will pour out when we cut the line. I'm using this fuel line clamp. There are different variations of these out there. This is the one that I'm using. If you don't have one, you can put a container underneath it to catch the fuel and let all the fuel drain out of the tank. Or be really fast and plug the line with a golf tee right after you cut it. To cut the line, here I've got a block of wood stuffed underneath it to kind of act as a base. Now once I cut this, some fuel will come out, even though we have the line clamped. So now that the line's cut, we can ready the clamps. The valve that I bought did not come with any clamps, but I do have some extra clamps here. And now we can install the valve. The valve might have a flow direction arrow on it. The gas is going to flow from the gas tank to the carb, so you want the arrow to point towards the carb. And that's it. Now all you have to do is remember to turn the valve off at the end of the season, and then turn it back on before using it next year. Now I know, there's somebody out there screaming, just buy the non-ethanol fuel. Well, not everyone lives in a location where they can buy non-ethanol fuel. I have to drive out of state about 35 miles to find non-ethanol gas. So don't assume that everyone else is in the same situation as you. So for those of us that are stuck dealing with the ethanol, this is a good way to buy a little bit of extra protection. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my channel for more videos. See you later. Bye.